Good evening, student. Okay. So what we have done yesterday, I think we have covered COP. All of these legislation are done. So now what we have to start with, we have to continue the topic because I think there are a lot of other conventions also. This is related to climate change that we have taken, right? So yesterday what we have done, or day before yesterday also, we were just referring to the climate change conventions that we have done so far. Now we have to do certain other conventions also, such as Bonn Convention, right? Or there is another convention which you call it as against Stockholm Convention. This is related to the POPs, which is your persistent organic pollutants. Okay, all of this is important, right? So not in detail we will do all of these. We will just write what is the purpose of these particular pollutants. Anything you have to ask, I am giving you 2 minutes to ask from the previous lecture that we have done. कुछ भी चीज जो आपको समझ में ना आई हो या फिर आपको कोई डाउट है with respect to any of the question which I have shared with you, just let me know this. Yes, are you typing something? Ishan, Soumya, Dhruv. All right, fine. So just start writing about Bonn Convention. लिखिए. Now with respect to Bonn Convention, how it is important, understand that when I talk about certain conventions, first you have to see for what purpose they have been built. For example, if I talk about Vienna Convention or if I talk about Montreal Protocol, so this is because of what? This is because of the depletion of the ozone. If I talk about the Montreal Protocol, that is because of the release of the CFCs, the chlorofluorocarbon, and because of that there is a hole in the ozone that has been done. When ozone will be depleted, what will happen? Directly it will impact the humans because it is protecting us from the ultraviolet rays. So Vienna Convention, or if you talk about the Montreal Protocol, all of these are important for this. If I talk about the Marpol Convention specifically, this is related to the ocean. I think we have done the Marpol when we were doing the oceanography as well. So Marpol Convention or London Convention is basically with respect to that there is no filth that you have to left. You don't have to put a trash in the oceans because you're using it. You're using it for the trade. You're using for the other purposes that doesn't allow you to spoil it, right? With respect to oil spills also we have a convention. So all of these were put together. We will be discussing for different, we have a different legislation for the different matter. And we call all of these as environmental legislation and it is environmental policy. Apart from that, there is another which is important, which you call it as BBNJ, which is beyond biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, which is related to the laws of high seas, right? So all of this is what your environmental policies and legislation. लेकिन अगर particularly पूछा जाता है that you have to answer with respect to the climate change. So you have conventions that we have done. UNFCCC का जितना भी COP है वो सारा क्या है? These has been meeting which has been done and there are the important objectives that we have discussed in every COP. The COP 30, COP 29, COP 27 we have discussed that. Okay. तो पहले लिखेंगे. सबसे पहले वेना कन्वेंशन से स्टार्ट करते हैं. VIENNA and Montreal Protocol and Montreal Protocol. Write down. These conventions are related to, write down, these conventions are related to these conventions are related to mitigate the depletion of ozone layer. ब्रैकेट में लिखेंगे स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर. मिटिगेट द डिप्लीशन ऑफ ओजोन लेयर, ब्रैकेट में लिखेंगे स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर, फुल स्टॉप. The ozone layer protects us from the harmful ultraviolet rays. The ozone layer protects us from harmful ultraviolet rays. It protects us from harmful ultraviolet rays. Next point. It was discovered by a scientist. It was discovered by the scientist in 1990s. 1980s. Yes. It was discovered by a scientist in 1980s that he discovered a hole in the ozone layer. He discovered a hole in the ozone layer. And thereon we decided that the chlorofluorocarbon which is being used in the refrigerators, and air conditioners, should be stopped and should be replaced by an alternatives so that the climate change conditions and the ozone layer depletion can be reduced. Right? So these were the changes that were made with respect to it. Now, the first formal convention that we had with respect to the ozone layer we had is Montreal Protocol. Write down Montreal Protocol. Where is Montreal? It's in Canada. Write down Montreal Protocol. It is the first convention. With respect to decrease in the usage of CFCs. Next point. It has been universally ratified by 197 member countries. It has been ratified by 197 member countries. And it focuses on the elimination of ozone depleting substances. Through phased reduction of chemicals. And what do you understand by phase reduction? That इस period में हमने थोड़ा कम कर दिया, फिर next period में थोड़ा और कम. So we have taken the targets. We are not saying altogether we will reduce this much, that we will come to zero in one go. That we will be there's a complete elimination of the usage of such elements. We are not saying that. We are saying step by step. Now, with respect to that only, we have a Kigali Amendment, 2016. What does it say? So what happened when we started using CFCs? Okay, At that point of time, there was an alternative that we figured out, which with HCFC. Now the point with HCFC was that it was, although it was not harming the ozone layer in the stratosphere, but at the same point of time, it was increasing the temperature. It was one of the contributor of climate change. When we figured out this, we thought that now HCFCs has also, these HCFCs are also needed to be eliminated. These are needed to be phased down, as we have seen that the contributor of HCFCs is also creating problem. At that point of time, what we decided that we will, in Kigali Amendment also it is there, that we will think of reduced phase-wise. We will think of reducing this, the contribution of all these elements in the phases-wise. So write down Kigali Amendment 2016, Kigali Amendment 2016. The amendment is with respect to, phased reduction of HCFC. It is with respect to phased reduction of HCFC, which acted as an alternative, to CFC, but later it was discovered they are one of the contributor of, it was discovered that they are one of the contributor of the climate change, and hence phased-wise reduction was announced for the same. Right? Okay. Now write down next. We have Bonn Convention. लिखिए Bonn Convention. Write down what is this Bonn Convention is for. Again, it is internationally legally binding agreement. Write down, it is an international legally binding agreement. It is an international legally binding agreement. It is an international legally binding agreement, write down, formed under auspices of UNEP. Very important, please underline for the prelims. It was formed under the auspices of UNEP or CMS. I don't comma करके लिखेंगे. Convention on Conservation of, what is, see, Bonn Convention is also known as CMS. उसको या तो आप CMS बोल लीजिए या Bonn Convention बोल लीजिए, एक ही बात है, right? Either I say Bonn Convention or either I say CMS. ठीक है, देखिए Bonn Convention और UNEP लिखा, write down, comma, Convention on Conservation of migratory Convention on Conservation of, write down, migratory species of wild animals, migratory species of wild animals, or migratory species of wild animals, or write down, or Bonn Convention, Write down next line. It is an international agreement. Aimed at the conservation of. Next point. It is an international agreement aimed at the conservation of migratory species. Now, migratory species could be any. It could be the land animal. It could be avian. For example, any migratory species, we talk spoonbill, or there is Siberian crane, right? So all of these avian species, which are there in particular, or it could be the terrestrial animal, or it could be an aquatic migratory species, any of which, इसमें तीनों ही cover हो रही हैं, if any of which is found that there is certain kind of things that are happening against it, definitely the convention is there for it. Okay, so Bonn Convention is respect to the migratory. Always remember with respect to the migratory species, whether it's aquatic, whether it is avian or terrestrial. Write down. It is an international agreement aimed at conservation of migratory species. Bracket में लिखेंगे terrestrial, aquatic and avian. Next point, it was adopted in 1979. It was adopted in 1979 and came into force in 1983. And came into force in 1983. Write down some key binding agreements. Some key binding agreements. Some key binding agreements under Bonn Conventions are under Bonn Convention are some key binding agreements under Bonn Convention are, write down. First, Eurobats. First point लिखेंगे Eurobat. Is you asking something? Okay, the first point please write down Eurobats. लिखिए. It aims to conserve 51 bat species. It aims to conserve 51 bat species in Europe. It aims to conserve 51 bat species in Europe. Next point. Includes the countries of full Europe, comma, North Africa. Aims to conserve the countries of Europe, comma, North Africa, comma, Central Asia, Europe, comma, North Africa, comma, Central Asia, comma, Central Asia, and British Isles, and British Isles. Write down next, EcoBAMS, EcoBAMS, ACCOBAMS, EcoBAMS. देखिए ACCOBAMS. First point, protects cetaceans. It protects cetaceans. It protects cetaceans. Write down the spelling CETACEAN, like dolphins and whales. Right? Who are, if you are not finding this word comfortable with this word, you can just remove it. You can write whales and dolphins directly. Don't need to use this word. It protects dolphins and whales in the Mediterranean Sea. Dolphins and whales in the Mediterranean Sea. Dolphins and whales in the Mediterranean Sea. Write down. Written, comma, Black Sea and nearby Atlantic areas. And nearby Atlantic areas. Okay. So what this Bond Convention is having, they are having a list of all the endangered species. So list they are having basically, this is something that you don't need to write, just understand, okay? So with respect to Convention, basically they are having two appendix. One is Appendix 1 and there is Appendix 2. So in Appendix 1, what they are having a list of all endangered species which are there. All endangered species, migratory species specifically, which are there, need to protect them, right? And they need to protect it. Why? Because of the obvious reasons that ecosystem is more important, and then we have to protect the endangered species, which are listed in Appendix 1. So more carefulness, more attentiveness and awareness is being spread for the list of the animals, migratory species which are listed in Appendix 1. With respect to the Appendix 2, the kind of the species which are there under it, unka alag tarah se treatment hai, right? So for the list one, don't need to write. Right, just listen. The conservation of the species and habitats, restoration of degraded habitat is there in Appendix 1. For Appendix 2, include the species that would benefit significantly from international cooperation. Right, they are not endangered. It's just that they might help. If the kind of the contribution they give to the ecosystem, to that respect, it is important. And with the global cooperation, one needs to protect these species. Okay. Right on next, sites. 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 You must have heard of this sites also earlier, right? Sites. Likhiye. Convention on International Trade. Convention on International Trade in endangered species. Let me just brief down this for you first. What are sites? Basically, see, there are certain animals which are highly endangered, right? They are critically endangered in some areas, but they are not that critically endangered in some other. So what if you are mentioning these particular organisms are under sites? In that way, we will be able to know that this particular organism, if in any case it's been traded or it is coming via airports or by any route or any medium, then we will definitely keep a watch on it. That is why if you see, अभी recently क्या हुआ है जब हमने schedule change किया है, we have changed WPA amendment. WPA amendment which has been done in 2022. What is that? So earlier we used to have 6 schedules, right? Now we are having how many schedules? We are having only 4 schedules. So in the 4th schedule, the last one, which is your 4th schedule, which is listed what? It has listed all the species, endangered species of sites. जो आपका sites ने list करा है, वो आपका endangered species कहाँ reflect होगा? In the schedule 4. Why? Because we also need to get aware of the species which are being endangered, which are critically endangered around the world, and the trade of which has been prohibited. To have a greater awareness, that is why it has been listed under WPA Amendment Act 2022, right? So in that case, the 4th schedule is listed with all the species which are endangered, and which has been categorized by, it has been particularly listed by sites. तो हमने कहाँ put कर दिया है? यहाँ पे. So what are the implications of it? How we are going to benefit out of it? अगर आपको पता चलेगी sites की listed क्या है? Species है. For example, turtle, tusk of the elephants, the skin of the tiger. All of these, if it's being traded, or maybe crocodiles. So what will happen? You will try to catch them up. You'll try to be aware of it beforehand, right? And you'll make some measures, you will make some arrangements that this should not be done. Because you already know this is illegal to trade because it has been already enlisted in the sites. Okay? So write down. Sites was a contribution of IUCN. What is IUCN? All the IUCN that you see, whenever we discuss a species, what we check? IUCN status. So what is this? International Union for Conservation of Nature. So IUCN status we check of every species which is there. For example, Asian cheetahs. It is extinct in India. But if you talk about the world, there are only 6 Asian cheetahs left in Iran. If you talk about African cheetah, they are vulnerable. So this is what how we check the kind of the species which are left. We check with the IUCN status. So write down sites are the contribution of IUCN. Sites are the contribution of IUCN, comma, with the decision taken in 1963. 1963. Write down. India signed the agreement. India signed the agreement and ratified in 1976. 1976. Write down the main objectives. By the way, your red sandalwood, that is also prohibited. Okay? I'll tell you the classic case of red sandalwood. What is the issue with the red sandalwood? It is one of the extremely important, I should say, the wood. Very premium wood that has been used. It is only found in Andhra Pradesh. That is also its utility. It's not found anywhere else. It's only found in Andhra Pradesh in India. And the trade of this particular species is completely prohibited. What kind of a trade? Imports are completely prohibited. Exports are restricted. I'm again saying the imports are completely prohibited and the exports are restricted. Why? On what basis exports has been restricted? So basically, there are two concepts with respect to red sandalwood. So this red sandalwood is highly premium kind of a wood which is in demand. It's highly in demand, first of all, and that's why people do illegal trading of this particular wood. They do smuggling of it. Okay, this is India. It is found in Andhra Pradesh. And why it is prohibited? Imports are prohibited and exports are restricted. See, if this red sandalwood is found in the wild specimen means अगर आपका कोई forest है which has been owned by the government and it has been found over there, then you can't even touch that red sandalwood. That is not allowed. It's illegal. But if you are cultivating the red sandalwood in your own private land, आपका खुद का जमीन है, वहां पे आप you're trying to grow it and export it. Only in that case it is allowed. वहां पे भी there is a restriction कि कितना कोटा है. You cannot just send, आपका खुद का लैंड है, आपने इतना बड़ा ले लिया और आपने you're just sending it and exporting. That is also not fully allowed. There is some kind of restriction on that too. So that is why the amount is, the certain quantity is allowed. इतना ही आप sell कर सकते हैं, इससे ज्यादा नहीं. तो यहाँ पे तो it's totally prohibited that you cannot use the red sandalwood which is being grown in the forest. जो own करता है, government own करता है, that is not allowed. ठीक है? Okay. Now come to the main objectives. लिखिए. First is to ensure that international trade. First is to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals. First, ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animal and plants. Specimens of wild animal and plants का मतलब क्या है? Animals which are found in a natural habitat. The plants which are found in a natural habitat, not privately grown or not privately captivated. ठीक है? अपना naturally जो मिल रहे हैं. So that is what this statement means. Does not threaten their survival. It does not threaten their survival. It does not threaten their survival. Next point लिखेंगे. Write down the next point. It includes 3 appendices. It includes 3 appendix basically. 3 appendix हैं और हर appendix में आपका category है. जैसे appendix 1 में strictly prohibited, strictly allowed नहीं है आपका trade करना. ठीक है? So write down appendix 1. Appendix 1 में क्या है? It gives the maximum protection. In appendix 1, it gives the maximum protection to the species listed here. In the appendix 1, it gives the maximum protection to the species listed here. Second, it includes species threatened with extinction. It includes species threatened with extinction. Next point. Commercial trade in this species, commercial trade in this species is completely banned. Commercial trade in this species is completely banned. Completely क्या है? Banned है. Next. Appendix 2 लिखिए. Contain species that are not necessarily threatened. Contain species that are not necessarily threatened with extinction, but may become so if trade is not prohibited. If trade is not prohibited or regulated, you can write trade is not regulated or prohibited. Next point, export permit is mandatory. For this, export permit is mandatory. For appendix 2, your export permit is mandatory, but import permissions are not required. But import permissions are not required. Okay, next come to the IPCC, which is your International Plant Protection Convention. Now this is for the plants. Write down. Okay. IPCC is the only international convention. IPCC, International Plant Protection Convention. Write down the full form. International IPCC, International Plant Convention. Plant Protection Convention. It is IPCC. Write down IPPC. लिखिए. International Plant Protection Convention. First point. IPCC is the only international. IPCC is the only international convention and reference organization dedicated to developing plant health standards. Developing plant health standards. It's a multilateral treaty. It's a multilateral treaty under the supervision of FAO. It is a multilateral treaty under the supervision of FAO. Write down. Next point. What are the main objectives? First objective लिखिए. What are the main objectives लिखिए. Prevent the introduction and spread of plant pest. First is to prevent the introduction and spread of plant pest. Next, promote appropriate phytosanitary measures. Promote appropriate phytosanitary measures which encourages the development and implementations of measures to control and eradicate plant pest. Next, write down. Next, write down. Okay, CBT we have already done, right? We come to the next convention. Write about London Convention. Write down about London Convention. Write down London Convention, 1972. London Convention, 1972. Okay, London Convention, 1972. Write down. Convention on Prevention of. It is a convention on prevention of marine pollution. It is the Convention on Prevention of Marine Pollution by dumping of waste. It is the Convention on Prevention of Marine Pollution by dumping waste and other matter. Right on next. It came into the force in 1975. It came into the force in 1975. Write on the objective. It prevent pollution of the seas. It prevent pollution from the seas. It prevent pollution of the seas from dumping waste. It prevent pollution from the seas from dumping waste. It prevent pollution of the seas. It prevents pollution of the seas from dumping waste. By preventing the pollution from dumping waste by ships, platforms and other man-made structures. By ships, aircrafts, platforms and other man-made structures. Write down the key features. It requires permits. It requires permits for ocean dumping. It requires permit for ocean dumping. I'll tell you a very nice story. So basically, when Industrial Revolution was happening, and after that also, what these European countries used to do at that point of time, they were using other countries as a dumping ground. Not only the countries, not only the land of that country, but also the areas around it. For example, European countries, what they used to do, all the filth, all the trash they used to collect from their own countries, they used to dump it near the Atlantic Ocean, which is more nearer to the Africa. Or apart from that, they also used to dump it on their land. Right? So basically, they were using it as a filthing ground, and despite knowing that this particular trash which has been dumped somewhere else will also create the same environmental problems. So if you dump at your own land or you dump somewhere else, the problem is going to be same. It is not that you're running from one place to another and your problem will be solved. Not like that. And about that, they were using, what they have done, they have colonized the whole Africa, right? With India also, Africa was also colonized. So all of this was used. They were still exploiting them. They were still exploiting their land, and they were dumping all of that trash from their own land to that place, thinking that our area is clean, and then they have created trash. They have created a mess over their land. So when it was figured out that why such patterns have been followed and why this is happening, so it was said that the convention was brought up. So one of the convention is this also. Although it is not basically targeting that particular thing, the idea, the behavior of one country to dump the trash in another country, that is not targeting that. For that, we have different convention which is known as a Basel Convention, BASEL. There is another convention for that, which is a Basel Convention. So this was the idea, and that is what they were doing. In fact, even e-trash, we talk about electronic waste as well. That is also one of the major challenge for lot many countries, because now the dependency of every person has been on electronic devices. In our everyday, we are using one or two electronic devices on daily basis, right? So when that is the case, definitely we have to also talk about the e-trash. We have to talk about the e-waste management. So this is what has been done. So when they could not manage it on their own, then what they did, they dump it somewhere else. So which is the idea which should be stopped. The behavior of the countries should be stopped in this way. Okay. So write down, it requires permit for ocean dumping. Next, it banned hazardous waste. Example, radioactive elements. It banned hazardous hazardous wastage. Example, radioactive elements. Now, what is there with the radioactive elements? For example, radon. Radioactive element कौन-कौन से हैं आपके? Like radon, uranium. All of this which has been used. अगर आप radon और uranium को dump कर देंगे कहाँ पे? In the ocean. So what will happen? It will get assimilated. अब वहां पे अगर भी मिक्स हो जाएगा तो who will inhale all these radioactive elements? Fish consume करेंगी, whales consume करेंगी, then finally we will eat whales, we will eat fish. Who is finally going to consume all of these radioactive elements? Humans. And then diseases will be what we will figure. We will try, have to combat with the different kind of diseases which are arising from the radon elements. So how much uranium is actually permitted by WHO? WHO only permits 0.03 milligram of uranium or radon in 1 liter of water. But if the pattern will be repeated, wherein you are dumping the radioactive elements and all these things, then this is not bearable. This is something that nobody can consume. Okay, and it can also create lot of problems. For example, there could be chronic nervous disorders. It can, and even not nervous disorders if humans, even in the whales, even in the dolphins, in the fishes, which are consuming it. So we have to see the whole chain, that how one act of one country can lead to the chains of effects, and that is what we have to stop. Right? लिखिए. उसके बाद इसी लंदन कन्वेंशन में अमेंडमेंट आया 1993 में. 1993 में there was amendment done in the same convention, and what they included, right now, banned incineration of industrial waste. It banned incineration of industrial waste at sea. It banned incineration of industrial waste at sea. Full stop. It phased out waste dumping by 1995. उसके बाद क्या बोला गया? That industrial waste भी क्या नहीं करेंगे? Dump नहीं करेंगे trash को. ठीक है? Banned incineration of industrial waste at sea. Next slide down. It encourages waste management. It encourages waste management, reduction, and alternative disposals and alternative disposal methods. And alternative disposal methods. Done. Now, with respect to incineration, what do you mean by that? It is a controlled burning of a material. So if somebody says we are not dumping, we are trying to regulate our wastage by burning that up, that is also not allowed. You cannot burn the material. So incineration means, if somebody wants to write it, it's a controlled burning of material at the high temperature. At a high temperature. Then apart from the London Convention, there is also one more which you call it as London Protocol, which is 1996. When the idea came out in 1996. Write down London Protocol. London Protocol. Write down. It came into force in 2006. It took 10 years for it to came into force. It came into force in 2006. Write down. India has not ratified it. India has not ratified it. Write down. Key features. It bans all ocean dumping. It bans all ocean dumping except for reverse list of materials. I'll give you the example of reverse list. Except for reverse list of materials such as degraded materials, comma, fish waste. Okay. So basically what they're talking about some materials which this is not basically you are not giving, you're not dumping it from outside, but there are certain waste which are has been originated from the ocean itself. So for that purpose, there is some kind of relaxation with that. That what they are saying that bans all ocean dumping materials, dumping except for the reverse list of materials like fish waste or degraded materials. All of these are kept in exception. Okay. Now next, write down. Write down. Write down Marpol Convention. Write down now Marpol. MARPOL. Marpol Convention. Write down the full form of Marpol first. It's an international convention. Marpol Convention. Right on. It's an international convention for the prevention of pollution. For so this is specifically for ships. Okay, prevention of pollution from ships. So any kind of oil spills which has been done. So all of this is taken care by Marpol. Write down. Marpol contains 6 annexes. It contains 6 annexes and write down its objective. For objective number 1, first is prevention of oil pollution. The first objective of Marpol Convention is to prevent oil pollution. Next, control of noxious liquid substances. Noxious means the substances which are harmful. पहला है आपका oil spills, prevention from oil spills, and next is noxious. Noxious means chemically harmful substance. Chemical substances which are harmful. Chemical substances which are harmful. So write down obnoxious, not obnoxious, write down noxious only. NOXIOUS, noxious liquid substances. Next, prevention of harmful substances in packaged form. Prevention of harmful substances in packaged form. For example, if you're carrying something, right, and something is not labeled on it, you're carrying it and you dump it. Again, what will happen, because there was no label, I think first of all, dumping is not at all allowed. But in any case, if you're taking packaged food, maybe aisa hota hai na, that you can take, which is something is not mentioned in that, and you're taking it. It can be very harmful for the species, right? So prevention of harmful substances in packaged form. Write down. The packaged form, while carrying in the ships, the packaged food or packaged form of, write down. The packaged form of food requires a proper labeling and documentation. Packaged form of food requires the proper labeling and documentation. Next, it prevents from air pollution and greenhouse gas emission. It prevents from एयर पोल्यूशन एंड ग्रीन हाउस गैस emissions. नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे बंकर कन्वेंशन. बंकर कन्वेंशन, राइट डाउन. It came in 2001. Write down. Came in 2001. International Convention on Civil Liability. International Convention on Civil Liability for bunker oil pollution. For bunker oil pollution damage. For bunker oil pollution damage. What are the objectives? Again, same objectives and that you have to stop, don't the kind of pollution which has been created on the land or in EEZ specifically, because there's a lot of bunkers has been created for the oil extraction, etc. Because oil जब आप निकालते हैं, see, you are not carrying it away. Oil क्या है? एक तरीके से you are carrying from one place to another. तब आपका spill हो सकता है. या फिर you are creating a very big dig in the area, right? So especially we are having in Mumbai high, right? In Mumbai we are having a high basin where we are extracting the oil. So in that way also it can spill out. No, this is a natural process. It can spill out in that way also. So there are different ways through which we have stopped that. In any of these ways, this should not impact the marine ecosystem. So write down, to ensure that objective is to ensure that adequate, prompt and effective compensation. It ensures that adequate, prompt, मतलब जल्दी से जल्दी आपको रिएक्ट करना है, जल्दी से जल्दी आपको इसका मैटर सुनना है. It ensure adequate, prompt and effective compensation is available to persons suffering from spills of bunker oil. Next, write down. Next convention लिखिए, Basel Convention, BASEL, Basel Convention. We have already discussed about the Basel Convention. You just need to mention what is it for. लिखिए. It was adopted in March 22, 1989. Basel is a place in Switzerland. It was adopted in 1989, Switzerland, Basel. What is the objective? To protect human health and environment. To protect human health and environment by regulating transboundary movement of the hazardous material. Now, this is the first convention which has talked about the transboundary movement. That is what I was telling you, that from Spain or by the different European continents, if you dump it onto the territory of the Africa, you will use their land as a filtering ground, and that is not allowed. So this is the first convention which is talking about the transboundary. So write down, to protect human health and environment from hazardous waste by regulating its transboundary movement and ensuring environmentally sound management. And ensuring environmentally sound management. Okay, environmentally sound management. Write down. सबसे पहले लिखेंगे heading hazardous waste. Write down under it hazardous waste. Write down. Based on origin, composition. Based on origin, composition and characteristics like toxic, comma, poisonous, comma, explosive, comma, corrosive, comma, write down. 4 types of waste are defined as other waste. ठीक है, 4 तरह के वेस्ट है जो उनका आप कैटेगराइज किया है आपने. पहला है हाउस होल्ड वेस्ट विच इज यू कैन नॉट डम्प. ट्रांसबाउंडरी मूवमेंट किस किस चीजों का नहीं होगा, दैट इज व्हाट दे ट्राइंग टू मेक इट क्लियर. फर्स्ट इज हाउस होल्ड वेस्ट. सेकेंड, incinerated ash. Incinerated, I told you, waste hai, you have burned it and then now you are dumping it somewhere. That is also not allowed because they have tried to bring out some loopholes, right? अभी हमने जब amendment देखा था उसमें क्या देखा था? We have seen the amendment which was done in the London Convention was they were tried to use, अगर ऐसे नहीं तो incinerated हम use कर लेते हैं, incineration कर लेते हैं, that is also not allowed. So incinerated ash. Next लिखिए certain plastic waste and certain electronic and electrical waste. Certain electronic and electrical waste. First point, minimization at the source. पहला point है इसके अंदर. कंट्रोल मेजर्स क्या है कि पहले तो आप जहाँ पे आप वेस्ट को आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं वही उसी एरिया पे आपको सबसे पहले कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, so that you have to minimize the waste material which is being produced at that point source only. Okay, so minimization at the source, first point. Next, prior informed consent, PIC, prior informed consent. Write down. Exports require written consent from importing and transit countries. Import requires written consent from exports require written consent from the importing countries. Why? देखिए, sometimes we do export the e-waste, for example, electronic waste materials, we do export it for the other purposes. This is not basically done because we want to create mess on their land. Basically, it is done for the other purposes. Maybe they can reduce them down, they can make something better out of it, they can do the management. So there are some countries which are working well on this. For that, we need the transport. We need to just transfer all the waste in the other land, right? तो जो ट्रांसबाउंडरी मूवमेंट होगा, या एक तो है आप बिना बताए कर रहे हैं जस्ट टू यूज देयर लैंड. सेकंड है देयर आर सम मैनेजमेंट व्हिच इज बीन डन एट दैट प्लेस. मे बी दे आर having the factories, maybe they have the better technology. For example, Japan is having a technology of doing all this. Some European countries are having a technology of doing this. They can manage it well. So if in that case, if you have done any sort of agreements with them and they are saying, okay, we can manage it, you send it over here. So for that, just as a proof, you need what? A proof that your importing country is allowing your waste to be dumped over there for the better purposes. So that is allowed. So जब आपने approval लिया है, so prior informed consent. Prior का मतलब पहले, informed आपको पहले से consent लेना पड़ेगा अपनी country से जिसमें आप भेज रहे हैं. ठीक है. Next, parties can ban imports. Parties can ban imports if they lack the capacity of environmentally sound management. अगर किसी के पास environmentally sound management का capacity overreach हो गया, then they cannot anymore they can anymore allow the waste to come in here, and they cannot manage all these raw materials. So what can happen in that case? What they will say, they have the authority to ban, they have the authority to stop it, right? Then write down, it prevents illegal traffic. That's it. Now write down next, Rotterdam Convention. इसके बाद लिखेंगे Rotterdam, ROTTER, Rotterdam Convention. It is a city where, write down, Rotterdam Convention are prior, yes, it's in Netherlands, correct. Write down, Rotterdam is a city in Netherlands, and write down, first point, it convention on the prior informed consent procedure, Rotterdam Convention on the prior informed consent procedure for certain hazardous chemicals, Rotterdam Convention on the prior informed consent, underline करिए prior consent, confirmed consent procedure for certain hazardous chemical and pesticides in international trade. In international trade, it is a legally binding instrument. It's a legally binding instrument. Write down. What are the provisions of it? Prior informed. सबसे पहले legally binding instrument is important feature. And what is this prior informed? आपको पहले से ही देखना पड़ेगा, consent लेना पड़ेगा इनसे. For what? For the chemicals that you are sending to different countries, right? So this is for the hazardous chemical. Right now, before exporting specific hazardous chemical, before exporting any hazardous chemicals, exporting countries must obtain, exporting country must obtain explicit consent from, they must obtain explicit consent from the importing country, comma, ensuring that countries have necessary information to decide, ensuring that countries has necessary information to decide on the imports of these chemicals, on the imports of these chemicals. Right on next, chemicals that are banned or severely restricted, chemicals that are banned, or severely restricted for the health purpose or environmental purposes, for the health purpose or environmental purposes by the parties can be listed in Annex 3. इससे क्या होगा? The countries can see in the list of the Rotterdam Convention, okay, this particular chemical is banned and it is not allowed. So they can also get aware of the fact that this is having a environmental issue, okay. And if in any case somebody finds it out that this is not suitable for the environment or for particular species, then definitely they can, because they are aware now, it has been stated, it's in the public domain. So the moment it is in the public domain, you can figure out it then, okay. Write down. Can be listed in Annex 3 of the convention, making them subject to PIC procedure. Making them subject to PIC procedure. Example लिखेंगे, there are certain chemicals which are hazardous and has been listed. Example लिखेंगे L-Dream. There is a chemical L-Dream or DDT. With DDT, I have also told you that there is a bioaccumulation that has been done because of the DDT in the vultures. And this case has been so severe these days that the vultures have literally lost the capacity of, they have had the lung failures, etc. And then there's a thinning of shells which is happening. So the kind of the offspring that is being born out of those vultures is they are very weak. And second, their lifespan is very less. And next, the vultures are going to the kidney failures, etc. So all of this is why, because DDT is very harmful. तो ऑन अ स्मॉल स्केल इट विल लुक लाइक दैट मैं तो इसको फार्म्स में यूज कर रहा हूँ, मैं तो पेस्टिसाइड कंट्रोल कर रहा हूँ एक छोटे से फार्म के ऊपर. बट द पॉइंट इज व्हेन इट इज बीन कंज्यूम्ड, योर क्रॉप्स आर बीन कंज्यूम्ड बाय रैट्स. रैट्स को इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, बट व्हेन द रैट्स गेट dead, you call them as carcasses. Carcasses means they are dead and decomposed, and when the vultures are feeding upon them, then they consume the DDT and it becomes bioaccumulated component in their body. ठीक है, तो वहां से ये प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट हो रही है, एंड देन द होल vulture which is a important species for the ecosystem is getting affected. Okay, नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे एल्डोसुल्फान. इसमें डीडीटी के अलावा एंडोसुल्फान भी है, जो अगर आप यूज करेंगे तो वो भी सेम सिचुएशन क्रिएट कर सकता है जस्ट लाइक डीडीटी. राइट, नेक्स्ट है हेप्टाक्लोर. हेप्टाक्लोर. नेक्स्ट देयर इज बहुत ही पॉपुलर केमिकल है, आपने सुना भी होगा, एस्बेस्टॉस. बहुत पॉपुलर है, आपको पेंट्स वगैरह के में मिल जाता है, ये बहुत ही पॉपुलर है. इट्स वेरी हैविंग अ वेरी पंजेंट स्मेल. So write down asbestos. Next, there is a pesticide which you call it as dustable powder. Dustable powder. All of this is not allowed. Okay. Again, endosulfan is also a pesticide. Just like DDT, endosulfan is also widely banned pesticide with hazardous effects on human genetic and endocrine systems. तो ह्यूमन के जेनेटिक्स में कैन क्रिएट अ प्रॉब्लम और एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम के अंदर प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर सकता है. ठीक है, so there is a place in Kerala with the name of Kesar god, right? So this Kesar god specifically, there is a district in Kerala. What they did long time ago, they used this eldosulfan as a pesticides. Okay, a lot of small farmers they use it now and then. सबको पता भी होता है in the time they the moment they are aware of this, all these pesticides also they are very harmful, then also they keep on using it. So this place called there's a district called in Kerala, they were using all of this. So what happened then, they were growing the cashew nuts. आपको पता होगा cashew nuts केरला में बहुत उगते हैं. Why? Again going back to the geography, because वहाँ पे कौन सी soil है, laterite soil है, और laterite soil के अंदर cashews बहुत उगते हैं. Is one of the best place for the cashew, and they are the biggest exporters also of the cashew, Kerala. So Kerala ke andar they were using all of this on their land. And the moment this was eaten up by the local community, what the cashews, etc., then they figured out that there is some problems, deformities that they could feel. तो बाद में से पता चला कि जितने लोगों ने वो कंज्यूम किया था, they all had the same kind of problem. They all have shown the same kind of symptoms. So this shows that what they have consumed and what are the patterns which has been followed later. So DDT तो इतनी बार मना भी कर चुके हैं, then also they keep on using the DDT material, and you never know, because when you're eating up, and तभी कहते हैं that whatever you eat, whatever you consume, you have to see it twice or thrice. ठीक है, so all of this being used, you never know what you're consuming in that way. Okay, next लिखेंगे. There is a next convention which you call it as Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention, again where this place Stockholm is, it's in Sweden. इसके अलावा हमने एक Stockholm Convention और किया था, वो Stockholm Conference था. Please don't get confused from the Stockholm Conference. वो conference हुआ था 1972 में, and that conference happened because we wanted to discuss with respect to the climate change. Okay. Now this Stockholm Convention happened. The idea was first discussed in 2001 and enforced in 2004. This idea was, so basically this Stockholm Convention was adopted in 2004. Okay, lie down, लिखिए. Key provisions. की प्रोविजन, व्हाट आर द की प्रोविजन ऑफ स्टॉकहोम? थोड़ा सा मिलता जुलता है आपका रॉटरडम से, बट फिर भी डिफरेंट है थोड़ा. आई टेल यू व्हाट. राइट डाउन. कंट्रोल मेजर्स फॉर पीओपीज. व्हाट आर योर पीओपीज? व्हिच आर persistent organic pollutants. राइट डाउन. इट कंट्रोल the measures for POPs, persistent organic pollutants, bans production and use of aldrin. It bans production and use of aldrin, ALDRIN, ALDRIN. Right. It banned the production of aldrin, लिखिए. It banned the production of aldrin, DDT, heptachlor, write down, toxaphene, TOXAPHENE, toxaphene. Write down next. What are the persistent organic pollutants? पहले लिखिए, what are these? What are the POPs? लिखिए. They are the carbon-based toxic chemicals. They are carbon-based toxic chemicals that persist in environment for years. They persist in environment for years. Spread globally to air, water, and soil. Next, they bioaccumulate and harm human and wildlife. Write down. Initially क्या डिसाइड हुआ था? 12 ऑर्गेनिक पॉल्यूटेंट्स आपके डिसाइड हुए थे, POPs. ठीक है. इसका नाम रखा गया dirty dozen. Dozen means 12. So they called it as dirty dozen, and it was issued that these all should not be used in the daily basis and awareness should be spread. So write down. Initially 12 POPs have been recognized. Initially 12 POPs have been recognized as causing adverse effects on humans and ecosystems. They are causing adverse effects on humans and ecosystem. Example में लिख सकते हैं some pesticides again. Heptachlor, dieldrin, DIELBRIN. Now DDT. Industrial chemicals को लिखिए. Polychlorinated biphenyls. Next लिखिए. Endosulfan is also, endosulfan nahi, don't write endosulfan in this. I think now it has been included, I guess. Write down endosulfan, now it has been included. Or it was not. Okay. Okay. So let me discuss one more concept with you. So what are the measures that we are doing? So one is environmental legislation, we have done this. Now talk about the recent legislation which has been talked about. So I'll just discuss this idea. You have to write it on your own. This is an assignment also that you will do. There's a concept called the carbon border adjustment mechanism. ठीक है, CBAM. EU का concept है, right? There's a concept called CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism. What is that? So any sort of imports that they are doing. So what they have decided, whenever they will do certain imports, they have certain phytosanitary measures जो पहले से ही हैं. But CBAM का क्या concept है? That any product that has been imported in their country. So first they will check from the point that it was produced till the time from the point it was used as a raw material to the point. That means from the starting to the last final product. If in any of the cases, in any of the way, the environment has been harmed, or maybe the carbon has been emitted, or carbon dioxide emissions or greenhouse gas emissions has been done. So in any of the ways, this has been done in the intermediate steps also, or in initial steps, or in the final steps, then the the whole assignment would be rejected. Why? Reason being, because even if the pesticide, if they discover that there are some pesticide which was used in the production of this particular product, then if I'm talking about the agriculture product right now, it could be another product also, it could be steels, etc. उसमें भी आपका CBAM allowed है. The provisions are there for that product too. So if any of which is found, then what will happen? They will completely ban it. They will not allow. You can put them under, in economics, you can put them, there's a two kind of tariffs that we impose. One is your quantitative tariffs, that is called tariff barriers. Basically, there are tariff barriers, they are the quantitative and non-quantitative. Basically, non-quantitative means that you are not putting a quota. You are not saying कि आपका सिर्फ इतना assignment या इतना ही, sorry, consignment is allowed. For example, if you say that you can only import this much from particular from outside, तो quota नहीं दे रहे हैं वो, but this is an implicit way. It is also considered as one of the implicit way of stopping the imports in their country. Then why would they do that? In order to proliferate their own domestic manufacturing setup, and they want to bring this idea to the people that they should buy the products which are being manufactured in their own country. Right? So CBAM is what? Is a tariff imposed by European Union. Okay? So it's a tariff. Write down. CBAM is a tariff imposed by European Union on कार्बन इंटेंसिव इंपोर्ट्स, जो कार्बन ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस करते हैं या कार्बन जो इन्वायरमेंट को ज्यादा हार्म करते हैं, फॉर ऑल दीज प्रोडक्ट्स दिस हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. राइट डाउन. ऑन कार्बन इंटेंसिव इंपोर्ट्स, एग्जांपल स्टील, एल्यूमिनियम, सीमेंट, फर्टिलाइजर्स and electricity, hydrogen, and to prevent carbon leakage. Right? Write down. What is the idea of the carbon leakage? Carbon leakage का concept क्या है? It means that, for example, if in your country there are stringent rules, you cannot grow, you cannot use the land in order to produce certain items because they are emitting a lot of carbon dioxide, a lot of greenhouse gases. So you have to, either you have to go with the policies, stringent policies of the country, or you have to stop this particular activity. So what these people do, they go into certain countries where the laws are a little relaxed. So they will try to set up the same model in other countries. When you're doing so, you're not stopping your activity, you are following the same pattern. It's just that you have changed the territory, you have just changed the land, and you're following the same thing. This is called carbon leakage. So even they do not promote this idea of carbon leakage. Even if they find it that since what is written over in all the imports, it's written over there that made in particular country, made in China or made in India. अगर made in India वाला product आपको मिल रहा है, but the point is the factories etc, the headquarters, जो head office है वो कहीं और है, where the laws are little relaxed, where you can practice all these things. Environmental policies are not that strict, and you can grow all these things. So even if they find there's some kind of this thing you have done, done the carbon leakage also, then also you will not be allowed you're not allowed to export in those countries. For example, European countries I'm talking particularly. So write down purpose and WTO compatibility. What is the WTO compatibility? Why the WTO has been talked here? Because we are talking about the World Trade Organization. जब भी हम import and export करते हैं, तो उसमें World Trade Organization का rule आता है. ठीक है? Write down purpose and WTO compatibility. It aims to put a fair price on carbon embedded. It aims to put a fair price on carbon embedded in imported goods, ensuring European purity, ensuring purity with EU domestic producers under EU emissions trading system. What does it say? That the people in your country, for example, in European country, they are saying what they are saying, that they are following all the rules, right? They are following the stringent rules. Now, one country is following all the rules and they are making one product. On the other hand, there is one other country which is using carbon leakage methods, or they are using carbon intensive methods in order to produce certain products, and they are exporting it in your country, right? So in that way, the customers should be given what? One way, in one way you are producing, you are not trying to neglect all these methods. On the other hand, there's a carbon embedded in this product. So in that way, the domestic producers should be given more edge, an edge over the other producers. Why? Because they are following that method. And in that case, आपका अगर आप import कर भी रहे हैं, so in that case you will be charged for it. Charge means अगर आपको पता चला कि carbon intensive है, तो obviously अगर आपका मार्केट में जो प्राइस, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई एम ट्राइंग टू सेल अल्फांसो, ये किस अल्फांसो के साथ भी हुआ है काफी बार, दैट अगर अल्फांसो द टाइप ऑफ मैंगो, अगर आप बेचते हैं तो क्या होगा? दे विल ट्राई टू पुट, सबसे पहले अलाउ नहीं करेंगे, कुछ असाइनमेंट्स आपको क्लियर नहीं करेंगे, या फिर कुछ केसेस में अगर अलाउ कर भी दिया, देन दे विल पुट हैवी इंपोर्ट ड्यूटीज. अगर हैवी इंपोर्ट ड्यूटीज लगेंगी तो क्या हो जाएगा? ऑटोमेटिकली आपका जो प्रोडक्ट है वो क्या बन जाएगा? It is not that reasonable in the market, so nobody would like to buy it, right? So it will reduce what? It will demotivate the people to use the carbon intensive methods. It is the implicit way of telling the people that if you will keep on following the same pattern, then you will not end up anywhere. Okay, this is an implicit way of telling. That is why they wanted to put this measure. So that is why CBAM is under. A lot of people say why CBAM has been put, but because EU is following strictly all these policies. Okay. Okay, write down the question, likhiye. Write down on the CBAM only. What is CBAM? And how did it help European countries in order to manage climatic, how did it help European countries in order to manage the imports of carbon intensive products? Done? All right, thank you so much, class. Any doubt, online students? Clear? Good, very good. Okay, I have just given a test for you guys this week, so just prepare well. So whatever we have covered till Saturday will come, and you can do and give the test on Saturday.